안녕하세요 여러분, 저는 Jenny예요. Hello everyone, my name is Jenny, and today we're going to be talking about 개명병권, which are various counters that you'll encounter when you're learning Korean. We'll also be talking about 몇개, how many. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to ask how many of something there are, and you'll be able to answer those questions. So on this side, we have 4 of the most common types of counters that you're going to see, or the most common counters. These 3 are a little bit more specific, but they're included in your grammar textbook. But really, we're going to be focusing on these 4 right here. Now, the idea of a counter might seem a little bit strange and weird at first, but in English, we say 1 pair of pants, 1 pair of scissors. You could say 1 pants or 1 scissors, but it doesn't really sound that well, and it's not very fluent. You would say 1 pair of something. The same kind of idea exists in Korean, where you have to say 1 counter of something. So the most basic counter is 개. You use 개 for just basic inanimate objects, everyday things. If you don't know what counter that you're supposed to use for a certain object is, you just use 개. So if you're never sure about what counter you use 개. However, you do not want to use 개 when you're talking about people. That would be very rude because people are not inanimate objects. So when we're talking about people, we use 병. 병 is for bottles, when you're counting bottles of something, and 권 is for books. When we use counters, we're going to be using the native number Korean system. So that's the number system that begins with 하나, 둘, 셋. When we use counters as well, the native Korean numbers 1 through 4 change their form a little bit. So 하나 becomes 한, 둘 becomes 두, 셋 becomes 세, 넷 becomes 넷. And so essentially what you're doing is just dropping that last letter off of the number. So you do this for things with counters. You also do the same kind of switch of forms when you talk about time in a later lesson. And this also applies for any number that ends in 1 through 4. So like 12, 32. You will have to change those forms as well. So 11 here, your 하나 becomes your 한. So your 한명, 한병, 네권. You have to change the forms. When we're asking how many of something there is, we're going to be using this phrase here. 몇 blank 있어요. And you just fill in the blank with the correct counter. 몇 by itself means how many. So how many counter are there? So Andy is asking Mina, 몇개 있어요? 몇개 있어요? And so Mina has to guess which of these objects that he's talking about. But she already knows, because 개 can only refer to one thing on the slide, and it is the pencils. So 세 개 있어요. Remember, we're using the new form of the word for 3, so it's not 셋 개, it's 세 개 있어요. Next, Andy asks, 몇 권 있어요? 몇 권 있어요? And again, Mina knows that he's talking about the books, because 권 is the counter for books. So, 네 권 있어요. Lastly, Andy asks, 몇 병 있어요? And this is a trick question because there are no bottles here on the slide at all, and 병 is the counter for bottles. So Mina says, 병 없어요. There are no bottles. If we wanted to talk about animals, we would use the counter that you saw on the first slide for animals, which is 말이. Now that you're more comfortable with the idea of counters, 몇 명 있어요? Okay, maybe we don't have to count this high, so let's do something a little bit easier. Okay, 몇 blank 있어요? Which counter, and how do we count them? 두 권 있어요. 두 권 있어요. 몇 병 있어요? 병 for bottles. 하나, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯. 6명 있어요. 몇 명 있어요? People, so we use 명. 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열, 하나. 11명이 있어요. We use K for apples, so 4개 있어요. We also would use K for an eraser, so 1개 있어요. And that is all for this lesson. 잘했어요. 다음에 봐요. See you later.